Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Grind. If you are joining us for the first time, you might recognize the man next to my, what are you, my left or my right? This is, a friend of the show, friend of everyone, friend of every Grizzlies fan ever. You're awesome. This is Rob Fischer, ladies and gentlemen. He is joining me for the first time. How are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great, man. It's nice to kind of, I don't want to say breathe a sigh of relief, but it's nice to be able to watch basketball and not have to worry about our guys.
Yeah, it's weird because when the Grizzlies make the playoffs, when they get bounced, I really have a hard time watching the playoffs.
Yep.
But this year I was kind of looking forward to it because this year was different. I didn't really watch any basketball throughout the season because it didn't really matter, as far as the Grizzlies were concerned.
Yep.
It didn't matter if Oklahoma City lost or won or the Lakers won or lost. It just didn't matter all season. So I didn't really have that much of an interest in watching to the point where I looked at the standings so little times I've actually looked at the standings and I didn't really know what was going on around the league. But so to check in on the playoffs, I've enjoyed it here this first week.
Man, it's got to be kind of refreshing just to be. I mean, because I know at home it's like we fixate on that. We're like, well, how are we doing? How are we? We fixate on all the little things. But when you're just in the building, like there all the time, you're probably like, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. People have called this season, it's not a lost season. I will slap anybody across the side of the head if they call that, because I think we got some really good stuff from this season.
Yeah.
The least of which, I'm wearing his jersey. I wanted to rep him today, Vince.
Nice.
Vince, we found these dudes like Vince. I mean, what was it like to be there? Like to spend the whole season with these dudes? Like,
well, you try to find silver linings in a season like this, and there were some. I mean, Vince for sure. What was a guy that you feel like you found? Gigi Jackson, a guy who got an opportunity that wouldn't have got the opportunity otherwise, and you feel like you found him. I'll even say Scottie Pippen Jr., a guy on a two-way contract for 2 years. I think you found value in him as well. So I think that was really good. And, what'd you find there at the end of the year with Jake LaRavia, who played really well at the end? So I think those were some silver linings. The Marc Gasol jersey retirement was great. So there were a lot of highlights, I think, in a season that was, really depressing for the most part, but I think one of the other silver linings was just that this team played really hard night in and night out and gave themselves a chance to win night in and night out, and that made it fun coming to the gym because you didn't go there thinking you're going to get blown out, just because it happened so rarely with this team. So it was a lot different than years in the past. This is my 17th year, so we've gone through some bad years, and
yes, we have.
But those bad years there was no hope, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was just, let's get to the end of the season and move on. This one,
Ivan Rabb years.
Exactly. This year there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that was a saving grace for this season for sure.
Well, yeah, and it's great too, because you said it made coming to the gym nice. It made coming to the games nice. I got to, and the games that I went to, I remember I got to see almost a full squad. I got to go to one of the Boston games early in the season in like November, where it came down to a missed Santi shot as the time expired. And then I came to one of the Blazers back-to-backs in February that we lost in overtime. And both games were fun to go to, even though it was two completely different squads, two completely different outcomes on the season. At that point, it was still just like they made it a fun season. They made it an enjoyable season despite all the other nonsense,
Yeah, and just playing hard and playing to the wire. I mean, that Boston game was one of the great games of the year.
Yeah,
and you lost. And another great game of the year was the Lakers game that you lost by 3.
Yes.
I mean, those are 2 losses, but they were fun to watch because they were, they played so hard, and it came down to the wire, and it came down to the closing seconds, and the crowd was in the game. And I mean, those 2 teams in particular, Boston and the Lakers, a lot of people will come to see those teams play. And for the Grizzlies to have those sorts of efforts against those teams were great. The 2 wins against Milwaukee, maybe the 2 wins of the year with what they did and with the lineups that they threw out there. So, there were a lot of positives, and I don't think there aren't as many names on this roster that we'll forget like we have in rosters in the past.
100%. I think that we've sort of been going through the roster, just being like, because the Yuta, I love Yuta. I'm a big Yuta Watanabe fan. I like ride or die Yuta. Him declining his option, which I think we all thought was going to happen, kind of set off this domino thing where it was like, okay, well, what names, who's gone? I like this whole roster, like top to bottom right now. The two-way guys, like that Boston or the Milwaukee game at the end of the season where we played 8 guys, where it was the three two-way dudes, Jemison, Goodwin, and Scotty, and then the rest of them were 10 days. That game was awesome. That game was so fun to watch, and I liked all these dudes. You know, it's like for the first time in a long time, as a fan, you know, it's like, man, I like these guys. I like the roster. I feel like Kleiman has done an excellent job with building this thing from like top to bottom.
Well, and that's good. I think it's good as a fan when you talk about an off season, and the first thing that comes to mind is, all right, we got to make some moves to get the team better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, who are we going to lose? Well, I don't want to lose anybody. I think that's a good sign. You know, you're going to have to move some guys to bring in other guys. So it's going to happen. But I think to like your guys is, you know, that's a positive after a season like this. You know, a lot of times after seasons like this, you're like, everybody's available. Who cares? Who cares? Take whoever you want. But that's not the case. But that's not the case with this team. And that's a big positive going into this off season, because I think it's an off season where you're not really a 20-win team. I mean, or a 27-win team. You're a team that's just got to make some tweaks here and there because you have so much that's coming back. And so it's not like a complete overhaul type of off season, you know, which is great. You're in a great position, and you feel like you'll be in a great position coming into next season. And now if you can just get a little bit better between the cracks here, everything will be fine.
And I think that's a great way to put, because it's the one crack that I would like to fill. If there's one crack, this center, I'd like to see, you know, and I'd like to see a true center on the roster. Who, if you were, I mean, we're betting men, you know, we you and I, who would you bet is the center, the true center, quote unquote, for this team next year? Because that's really the only spot that I see we desperately, I don't even want to say desperately, that we could fill.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I think need to fill.
Needs. It's a need.
Yeah. I think I would think your starting center's not on the roster at this point. And there are guys available. And I mean, the same usual suspects keep coming up. Hartenstein and Claxton, Carter, and you know, those are a few guys that I like their names, and they could fill that role. And, you know, you got a couple of bigs in the draft that could be very intriguing as well.
That's what I like.
Klingham and even Edey, if you're going second round. And so I think those are a couple of possibilities. I don't know where they're going. It'll be interesting to see which route they go with the center position. You know, are you looking for a Steven Adams type, or are you looking for a guy that can maybe step outside a little bit more? Or but if you're doing that, you already have Jaren, so what's the point on trying to get the same type of player? So I think it'll be really interesting. And you know, how much is Jaren going to play center? You know, so you assume even if you get a starting center, Jaren's going to have a lot of time at center. So it's interesting to see what they're going to do. And then money wise, what can they do? You know, how many guys would they have to move off of to make a move to get a starting guy that's already established in the league? And, you know, and then what do you do with your draft pick? Where is your draft pick? You know, are you at 7 or are you at 1, or where do you end up falling? So a lot of things can happen. And I think it's all pretty much open at this point. It just is a matter of what Zach Kleiman and the front office, what they're thinking. And I think to their credit, nobody really knows what they're thinking. Year in and year out.
Weird. It's weird how this situation in particular, how there's so many variables with the center position. Like they could pick, like there's so many like choose your own adventure ways they could go with this thing. And it's kind of nice that not nice. We're going to do a lot of air quotes today, apparently. It's nice that exciting. It's exciting to me to be like, well, cool. There's a number of ways this thing could fall. And a lot of them make this team better. I think, and that's really exciting to me. You know, and it's instead of having to worry about this all over the roster, we're set really everywhere. We got Ja, we got Dez, we got Marcus is coming back, we got Tripp, we got BC coming back. Like, that's 5 dudes right there. We haven't even talked about Kennard, Santi, Gigi, Vince. Like, this is a good roster. I
think the biggest thing is, my biggest concern the last couple of years was, how are you from 7 to 10 in your roster? And I think right now you're good.
Yep.
You're better. You're better than what you've been the last couple of years because of Gigi, because of Vince, and what they add. You know, Luke Kennard, is he going to be on the roster?
Yes.
Happy to have him on the roster, but you know, his contract is very attractive and could be attractive in a trade. So that's why his name's brought up. But you know, I think from, you know, in the past, when you had a handful of guys from 7 to 10 on that roster, the Roddies and Zaire and Laravia, and, you know, the names that you can throw out there, this handful
Xavier.
of guys, Xavier, you know, how good were you? And it wasn't good enough. But now the names that you put in there are different, with BC being back, and with Luke Kennard, and with Gigi, and with Vince. I mean, those are all pure rotation guys without question.
Yes.
And I think you had guys in that position last year that were questionable in that position. So you've upgraded there. Can you still upgrade one of your front 5? Of course, by getting a center. And can you still upgrade between 6 and 10 in your roster? Sure, you can. Maybe in trade, or maybe in the draft, or whatever you're going to do. But you've improved it through the attrition of this past season, and I think you can improve it here in the offseason as well. And you do that, you know, why not? Why can't this team return to being one of the top teams in the Western Conference again?
Yep, I think that's where we're going to be. I mean, knock on wood. God, I need to knock on wood. It's too early to say that.
And when you hear people, because this discussion will come up again this offseason, and it's come up for the last 5 off seasons. The West is going to be better. The West is going to be really tough. Well, so are the Grizzlies.
Yes, we are.
Grizzlies are going to be better. Grizzlies are going to be really tough. I mean, this is a team that was number 2 in the West 2 straight years until this injury-riddled season. So why can't they return there again next year? Well, because the West is tough. Well, so what? The Grizzlies are a good team, and they're going to be one of those tough teams, and the improvement they're going to make is going to be huge. So, you know, I say it over and over every year, and I'll be saying it this offseason, I'm sure, as well. Why not the Grizzlies? I mean, why wait a second. Why are we not giving them the credit that we're giving other teams in this league? Oh, well, Oklahoma City took a huge jump. Well, why couldn't the Grizzlies have taken a huge jump this year? Minnesota took a huge jump. Well, why wouldn't the Grizzlies have taken a huge jump this year? You know, so it's those things that bother me, because I think this team is set in a really good position to get right back to where they were the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk, you know, we're talking about the West is tough. The East isn't so tough, but, you know, let's talking about some of these games. I think the Grizzlies, a healthy Grizzlies roster looks pretty good in these playoffs, and I think they're going to look good in the next playoffs. You know, right after this break, we'll kind of go in to our playoff check-in number 3 of this week in about a minute or so.
Not just the level of individual talent that he plays, but it's also the level of his mind. We haven't gotten cross-court open shot this year. We haven't seen that pass a lot. Number one, you got to respect him going to the basket. There's a roller. I got to watch the roller. He has the mind to be able to say, I see all of that, and now I see this guy over here. I'm going to get him this open shot. How shifty he is to always be going forward. It's usually side to side. Yeah. His dribble moves are side to side, but going forward. Right. Which is very hard to defend. I just want to get you, as many times can I get you to do this? But for him, it's not here. It is here, which is with are his moves to get down the floor. It's awkward for a defender to try to catch a cadence. You dribble. So now what I do is, now when you go put that ball down, I'm going for it. But with him, there's no, it's hard for my cadence. But what's my cadence for you? I don't know what it is.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Who do you need to step it up? Outside of David Jones, I think David Jones is David Jones.
I don't think you need him to step it up because he's been performing.
Yeah, like he's David Jones. Like outside of him, he's fine.
I think Quinterly needs to play better.
In what way? Like, I mean, he's facilitating the ball well. I mean, what do you, like, I don't.
2 at 12 from the field's not cutting it.
It's not great. It's not great.
And I don't need a runner 3 from the top of the key with 3.5 seconds left.
Is Virginia the game where Jordan Brown is going to cook? Those dudes aren't looking to run the ball.
Cook what? Dude, I thought he was going to have a freaking night. He came out with that fresh cut, lined up, and then literally within the first 15 seconds missed a wide open layup, and then picked up 2 fouls right away.
I feel real lied to because I thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy.
Didn't think it did anything for you.
Well, I think
we all thought we were getting a 20 and 10 guy. And we are getting that in David Jones.
I'm not even getting 20 or 10 minutes out of the guy.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with TJ Willis and Trey Lasley every Wednesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back. I normally sing to open the show, and I didn't today, so I feel like I got to get it in. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. You can catch that show and all of our other shows over at bluffcitymedia.co. Lots of good content over there. All Grizzly stuff, all Memphis stuff. Really, we kind of cover everything. We run the gamut. But back to our show, the Daily Grind. Playoff check-in number 3. We've been checking in every day. You said you're actually getting to watch basketball for the first time this season. Who are you liking? What series? What player? I mean, there's one series in particular that I'm loving half of, one of the squads, but I want to hear what you're liking since you're like a new eyes on it.
I think Minnesota and what they've done to Phoenix has been great. I applaud when teams try to put a superstar team together and they fail, like the Phoenix Suns are doing.
Yep.
So I think that's great, and I love watching Minnesota. I mean, they're young, they're big, they're athletic, they're deep. They're a fun team to watch, and Anthony Edwards is something special, and Mike Conley's playing really well, so that's been fun to watch. So Minnesota's been great. Denver's been pretty impressive. The Lakers lost an opportunity, and this series will be over quick, I would imagine. Those are the two that probably interest me the most. The Knicks-Sixers series has been fun these first couple of games. Sixers missed an opportunity in game 1, and then the Knicks come back and get a steal game 2 as well. So the Knicks have been on the brink of losing 2 games, and instead they're up 2-0 heading back to Philadelphia. So that's been kind of interesting as well. Those are the ones that have interested me. I mean, most of them are 2-0, which is, kind of surprising with Dallas and Indiana being the only teams that have won a road game so far.
Yeah, and man, some of these series have just been kind of like, like that Boston series. I hope they put the Celtics just can't. It's like the Heat are trying, the Lakers are trying. I think those are going to be short. You hit on the teams that I'm excited about. I think particularly, I feel like this Knicks team some of these games remind me of the old grit and grind Grizzlies, man. Like the way that they're just offensive rebounds. And, I feel like everybody, the entire back half of the season, talked about Isaiah Hartenstein and wanting him on the squad. It's like between him and Josh Hart, and it's like all these dudes that went to Nova, Dante DiVincenzo, which how he hit the open market is beyond me. Like that, I really like watching that squad as well as Minnesota. I think Ant is, like you said, really something special. And those are two of the squads that I feel like were built right too. It's like we love to watch these super teams fail, love's the right word. I love to watch it. It's nice to see these teams that are built like a basketball team. I like watching that happen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the other surprising thing about this first round so far has been the losing teams averaging around 100 points a game, if not less. Yes. Orlando's averaging 84.5 points per game in the first 2. That is unbelievable. But most of the teams that have lost, Tuesday we had 2 of the teams that lost scored under 100. One of them won scoring under 100. We had 2 of the teams on Monday that lost were under 100. The other one was at 101. And that was Orlando at 86 was a loss. And then you had all 4 teams on Sunday that lost were under 100 points. The Thunder won with under 100 points. And then Saturday, you had 2 of the 4 teams that lost were under 100 points. So you're seeing some low-scoring games, and that's certainly different than what you see in the regular season. And, these defensive teams, I've said it before the playoffs, I think, you have to be a team that's top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and that's what gives you a chance to win in the postseason. And I think we're seeing that right now with these defensive teams. Really putting the clamps on some other teams. And, you don't score 100 in the NBA right now, it's tough to win. We've seen it happen here in the playoffs a couple of times with Dallas winning over the Clippers last night, for example, scoring 96 and winning. So we've seen it a couple of times, but, you hold a team under 100, your chances are really good.
Yeah, and it's made the product's been fun to watch. Like, I love when the games are in terms of the officiating, I love that they're letting some stuff.
Like the end of that Knicks Phillies game.
Yes, man.
Holy
yes,
crap.
I'm loving that. Where it's like, yeah, did he fall to the ground? But like, you can't be trying to pass the ball inbounds. They're just so wild. And then, granted, you got to see that Nick Nurse timeout, I guess. But it's just so exciting. It's hard. I get it. I feel for these dudes. They're in the moment. They're excited. I get it.
Yeah, it's been fun. I think it's been we didn't really have any close games until I guess it was Monday when we had a couple with Philadelphia and New York, and then the game-winning shot by Jamal Murray for Denver. So those were really the first 2 close games, and then we had one last night with Dallas and the Clippers. But it's been surprising how we've had a lot of I don't know, blowouts probably not the word, but comfortable wins. For a lot of these teams so far. So, but I think, now we change locations and now we these teams get out on the road. We'll see if some road teams can start to win, and we'll see if, the games get a little tighter as we go along. I would assume we will.
I hope so. It's like these games have been fun, but who's going to complain about more basketball? If we can get more longer series, I think everybody's for that, especially if they're good. I don't want anyone to get hurt. Like poor Joel Embiid, they're trotting his poor SOB there. I feel like he's going to be like Hannibal Lecter by the time it's done, where he's in the chair and they wheel him out because he's just like, he's broken. The dude's breaking, and I feel bad for him.
Yeah, that's been hard to watch. I mean,
yeah,
when he left the game the other night after that dunk, and you thought, oh my God, he's not coming back, and then he comes back, and just the way he's laboring, constantly, it's almost painful. It's painful to watch, but he puts up numbers, which is incredible.
It's ridiculous because it's like you're coming back from injury, and you're up against the Tom Thibodeau team, which is like the worst team that you want to come up against when you're coming back from injury, because they're going to give you you're getting nothing. They're going to be up on you. It's like sweaty and you're not getting an inch. Like, good luck. And he's doing it, and I just hope he doesn't fall apart by the end. It's fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully he's able to play. I mean, because they make a very interesting matchup with the Knicks, and everybody thought, boy, poor Knicks are going to get somebody really tough here in this first round, whether it was Philadelphia or Miami. And now Jimmy Butler being out would have made that a little bit easier, I guess. But with Embiid the way that he is, and both games have been very close, and both games have been very tight. Like I said, I thought Philadelphia gave one away in game 1 with an opportunity to steal one, and then in game 2 it got stolen from them. So
yes.
We'll see what happens when it comes home. Injury could be a big problem for Philadelphia, because Joel Embiid and Kyle Lowry looked like he was half paralyzed when he got thrown to the ground the other night. So it was, how's he going to respond as well? So, but I think that series will still end up pretty interesting. It might be 2-0 Knicks right now, but I would imagine Philadelphia comes back a little bit here at home.
Yeah, the fact that the Sixers with like half the roster with an IV on them out there is like still keeping the series close. Pretty impressive for me.
Yeah,
excited.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
We're going to take one more break. When we get back, I'm excited for this. I'm going to make you play. Well, I'm not going to make you. You're going to have an option. We're going to play. It's a trap. I don't know if you're familiar with the cinematic masterpiece Star Wars, but it's in the realm of that. So right after this break, and you're going to have to see Brevin's face again. I apologize.
Okay.
Right after this.
I'm just big on being able to vocalize what someone's role is. I always thought my best coaches were the people that let me know exactly what you expect from me. Now, I might not like it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Right. But if you come to me man to man to say, This is how we think we're gonna play you. Bang, bang, bang. And hopefully everybody understand. I'm not saying that this has not been done with this team. I'm just saying from my experience, we all have egos when we get to this game.
Right.
All of us. To the last person on the bench, you got an ego. But all of us can't be the man.
Yeah.
You got to be able to say, okay, he's the man, but what do I do and what can I do to help us be good? And if it's vocalized to you, then you know exactly and if I'm out there doing it and now I'm not getting the result from you, now we got to sit down and have another conversation. But as long as it is told to you, this is what we expect from you, this is how we want you to play, then I feel like, again, keeping this logo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tune in to the Anthony Sane Show Wednesdays and Fridays at 12 p.m. weekly on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. All right, Christian.
Yes.
You are Penny Hardaway.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Today, you're going to play act. Okay. Gabe, because you're a Jordan Brown apologist, you're going to be Jordan Brown.
I'm a Jordan Brown apologist. Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
Y'all are sitting across the room from each other.
I said, don't tweet him hate. And he's like, you're an apologist. Like, good God. But either way, continue. We're in a room together.
Why did things break down?
Jordan, we brought you in this year to be the centerpiece of our offense. You came in out of shape. Let's call it what it is. Call it spade a spade. We play fast. Told you this when we were recruiting you. We play fast. One of the fastest paces in the country. You have to be able to get up and down the floor. You have failed at that.
Oh, well, I'm leaving. So it's fine. Cool.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back. And we're off. I don't know why I wanted to say it like that. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. We are going to play a little game called It's a Trap. I don't know if you're familiar with Admiral Akbar, famed admiral of the rebellion in Star Wars. R.I.P. He is not a hooper, but I imagine he would be if they had basketball in Star Wars. So the rules of this game, I'm going to give you series of trivia questions on a topic. We'll talk about that topic here in a second, but I want to give you the rules first. 20 questions, 10 of them are real. They're actual questions that have an answer. You don't have to answer them correctly. You just have to say, yeah, that's real, because 10 of them are also traps. It's a trap. You don't even have, you don't have to answer any of these correctly. You don't have to answer any of these 20 questions right. You just have to say, yeah, that's real, or it's a trap. You don't have to say it like that, but you can if you want. And if you want to answer the questions, you can for flavor. There's no prize. You'll get a hug from me through this. That's all you get. But today's topic is going to be about the NFL draft. You're an NFL. You're an NFL fan. Right. Who's your team?
Sure. I have two teams. I lived in St. Louis growing up and used to go to Cardinals games. My dad had season tickets for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
So when they moved to Arizona, I've still followed the Cardinals. And but when they did move to Arizona, I ended up going and getting half season tickets for the Chiefs. And started going to Chiefs games and, went for about 5 years before I moved to Memphis, going to Chiefs games. So kind of a Cardinals in the NFC and the Chiefs in the AFC. Not die hard, don't live and die with my teams, but those are the two teams that I root for.
That's awesome. Like I think I knew the Cardinals one. I'd forgotten. I didn't know that. I think I knew the Chiefs one based from your show, but the Cardinals, they're one of those teams. I love the teams. I'm a Bears fan. I've been a Bears fan since I was a little kid. And it's been rough. Excited for this year, but it's the old teams. I love the old teams, the one that have been around for like a long time, where they've like moved cities or haven't moved cities. I always find that really interesting. Like the Colts, I just think they're cool.
Yeah.
But back to the game. So it's going to be about the draft. So these are going to be questions surrounding the NFL draft, which is tomorrow in Detroit. Shout out Detroit for any Detroit fans, I guess. I'm going to have to make you talk about the Cardinals before I let you go. People are getting riled up in the comments after the game. Drew, calm down. All right. First question. Who was the first overall pick in the inaugural NFL draft in 1936?
1936. I'm going to say that's a real question.
That is a real question. You got it.
And-
You can
and-
guess if you want to.
I wouldn't have a clue who to guess.
Yeah. It's the Eagles, apparently. They didn't have this. I don't know. That's real, apparently. Which NFL team holds the record for the most first overall draft picks?
That's a real question.
Yeah, it
and
is.
that would be let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Close. Colts.
Colts. Okay. I had to pick
Yeah.
somebody who's been crappy for a long time.
I'm saying that was you. You were very close. Same area too. Midwest. Who was the first non-American player to be selected overall in the NFL draft?
Non-American player. Trap?
No, that's a real one.
Who?
I'm going to mispronounce the name. Kijana Carter, running back from Penn State.
Kijana Carter from Penn State. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
He was Korean. His parents were Korean.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did not short lifespan. All right. Question number 4. Which NFL team famously drafted a robot named Robo QB with the first overall draft pick in 2050?
I believe that's a trap.
That
Or is
is
that
a trap. I'm not aware if I don't think a robot has ever been drafted. I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, tweet me. I need to know. Question number 5. In 1978, which NFL team drafted a player named John Doe as an experiment, but later found out that he didn't exist?
That's a trap.
That is a trap. That's not.
Okay.
I would hope organizations are smarter than that.
That'd be
Question
kinda-
number 6. Who was the oldest player ever selected in the NFL draft?
Ooh, that's a real question.
Mhm.
I don't know. I wouldn't have a guess on who that is, but I would imagine. I mean, how old? Do you have
So-
that answer?
Yeah, it's Brandon Whedon, and he was 28 when he got drafted.
Brandon Whedon.
Remember him? He
Quarterback,
played for the
right?
Browns.
Yeah.
He,
my.
I think he even played for the Packers at some point. He was one of those journeymen that bounced around in the early 20-somethings.
Yeah, I guess Chris Wanke could have been a good guess on that as
Yeah.
well. A couple of guys who were older when they were drafted.
I think he was still in. How do you 28 in college? Anyway, well, it's neither here nor there. Question number 7: Who holds the record for most consecutive years with most consecutive years drafting in the first round? Like most.
First round picks, I guess. In Minnesota Vikings.
Close. Baltimore Ravens.
Mm.
Who holds the record for the shortest player ever drafted in NFL history at 4 foot 2 inches tall? 4 foot.
That's a
2.
trap. Come on.
That is a
he
trap.
ain't
4
no
foot 2
4'2".
is no 4'2". That'd be absurd. Question number 9. Which team drafted a professional wrestler in the first round of the NFL draft? They drafted him. He didn't sign with the team. Ooh.
That was
Mhm.
that happened. That's real. No?
It's a trap.
Is it?
He signed. He wasn't drafted. I worded to fool with you.
Ah.
Plenty. There's a lot of wrestlers that have signed, lots of them, but none of them have ever been drafted, like turned wrestlers.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only hard question. I try to make the rest of these silly. In 2005, which NFL team drafted a quarterback based entirely on their performance from a video game?
That didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. That's a trap.
That's a trap. Okay, good.
That's a trap. Yep. Which
Those
team
people
drafted
be
Tom
fired.
Brady?
The New England Patriots.
Boom. Yeah, see, that was easy.
Yeah.
It's not even a trivia question, really. It's just like, have you turned the TV on? Which NFL team famously selected Johnny Manziel with 22nd overall pick in 2014?
Cleveland.
Yep.
Is that true? That's correct.
That's correct. You remember that
spot
day? You
and
remember
everything?
Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember Johnny?
That was
football?
one of the great draft nights ever. We had the wasn't that the same draft with the kid from Ole Miss smoking the weed?
Larry Tunsil.
Yeah, wasn't that
Put
the same
big-
draft
Yeah,
or was
put
it
the
not?
gas mask on, and it was released like that morning.
Yeah, because it was amazing. You had that, and then you had the Manziel wait to see where he was going to actually go.
Man, the draft is nuts. The fact we just do that to these kids, it's so fun. I'm glad I don't have to do it.
No kidding.
Question number 13. Which player was drafted directly from a European soccer team in 2010?
That didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't happen. It's a trap.
No, it's a trap. All right.
Yep. All right. Who holds the record for most consecutive years drafted as a punter in the first round?
Drafted as a punter in the first round. Who holds the record for most consecutive years drafting a punter in the first round?
Yeah.
Is it Oakland with 1?
No, it's a trap. I don't.
Oh, it's
like-
a trap. All right.
Yeah, because no one's done it 2 years in a row. It's absurd.
No.
In Which NFL team famously drafted a player named Billy Goat in 1987, only to discover it was an actual farm animal and not a human?
That's a trap. Come on.
That is a trap. You can't be an animal in the NFL, I don't think.
No.
Who is the only, this is kind of fitting, who is the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner to be selected first overall in the NFL draft?
Archie Griffin.
Yep. Nailed it. It's fun when people actually get them. A lot of people just are like, pass. You getting them. Who was the first overall pick in 2020?
First pick in 2020. Was a quarterback.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember the years. I'd have to go back.
It's not a trap though. You get Joe Burrow.
Oh, Joe Burrow. Okay. 2020 Joe Burrow. Yeah, they all run together to me.
And you just know it's like probably one of these quarterbacks. One of them probably didn't make it. It's kind of the same.
Right.
All right. Question 18. We're almost there. Which NFL team drafted a player from a fictional college named Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in 2015?
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. That's a trap because Hogwarts is fictional. I don't imagine they'd be very good. Well, I guess it depends on if they're allowed to use magic. That's
what's his name? The big fellow, the big
Hagrid.
Hagrid. Thank you very much, Hagrid.
Ooh,
yeah, he could have.
I bet Hagrid can hoop.
I bet he could.
Yes. Hagrid can hoop. All right. Question number 19. Who holds the record for the most draft picks traded for a single bag of potato chips?
That didn't happen. For
Didn't
potato
happen.
Chips? No. But I mean,
And-
you could say that for some trades, like the Herschel Walker trade.
100%. That trade, I was the Mitch Trubisky trade I would put there because that broke my soul. Question number 20. This is the final question. In what year did the NFL draft introduce a 7-round format, which we still use today?
Let's go with 1987.
Close. 94.
94. All right.
You know what? I'm gonna give that one to you because you guessed the most right that I've ever had on here, and that just makes me feel good. I'm gonna
All
say
right.
if we had a leaderboard behind me, your name would be on top of it. You would be right under Mr. King Lawler right here.
Perfect.
That's gonna do it for today's show. Rob, thank you so much for hopping on today, brother. For real, this has been fun.
Luke,
for me.
anytime.
I hope it was fun for you.
Yeah, anytime, man. Enjoy it always.
Hell yeah, awesome. Everybody, have a good rest of your week. It's Wednesday. We're almost to the weekend, kind of halfway there. Remember to be weird and smile, and you'll be all right. I will see everybody tomorrow.